We're dealing with the master Kurosawa, and this is a very special episode 200 of What Makes This Movie Great. Yeah, I've done 200 of these. I chose a Kurosawa for a special number like this, and it's Throne of Blood. And one of my favorite actors, maybe my favorite, if you pin me down, Toshiro Mifune, who plays Macbeth character in this Macbeth adaptation, but it's a very strange and different version. It has a lot of the overview, the structure, a lot of the plot details, but it is Japanese and it has very many different things. So it's a fascinating conversion, let's say, of the famous Shakespeare play. In a way, this movie is about a power struggle between these two men, Washizu and Miki. Forgive my Japanese pronunciation, which is admittedly terrible, but they are the main characters here, and they're going through the spiderwebs forest after a battle. They encounter a spirit. The spirit gives them a prophecy, like, you will reign over the spider's web castle. But then this other guy, Miki, his son will reign afterward. So the question is, will this come true? First they laugh at it, but second of all, they start to make it happen. Typical Macbeth thing, the prophecy enables them to go to their own doom, as it were. And this is effectively, in a way, an ancient Greek tragedy. And I think this movie can be watched in three different ways. The first one is as a Shakespeare adaptation. Whether you are knowledgeable or not so knowledgeable, you can kind of see what Kurosawa was up to that way. The second way is as Japanese history. Whichever time period it's set, whatever it's saying about historical revisionist way, its historical moment that it's displaying. I like the third way. This is typically my preferred way on this channel, which is see it in its historical context, 1957. What does this movie have to do with 57, Japanese culture, world events, something like that? And that's what I'm going to focus on mainly here in this video. You can ask the question, why would Kurosawa choose Macbeth? Maybe just like the play. Maybe that's even the fact of life, but the fact is also this artwork lives, in its time period. What effectively this movie is about is the aftermath of war. At the beginning, you get these reports of these battles are going badly, and then they go well, the vicissitudes of war, and then this spider's web castle, this house, this fortress wins a battle. So effectively the war is over, sort of, but no, it's not over at all. And you get the aftermath of war, which is basically the power struggle over the castle through the rest of the movie, though, basically an hour and 20 minutes, the bulk of the runtime of the movie. What I think that has to do with is World War II, which is a war that did end officially, according to the states that negotiated their peace, in 1945. But unofficially, World War II did not end then. You could even argue it's not over yet, as people still die or get still casualties from unexploded munitions. But I think it effectively ended later in the 50s, when a lot of these local regional struggles throughout the world spurred on, caused by World War II, were ended. That's the date that I have read before. Around 1957 is the ending, and thus war causes more war, and even when the war ends, it's not over. There's still struggles, all kinds of struggles and revolutions and upheavals. And to me, that's partly why this movie is effective in its time, and maybe it's even about the world around itself. The worry, frankly, that there will be another war because of the depravity of human heart. I think Kurosawa, because World War III is on his mind. His previous movie he made was I Live in Fear, which is about that very thing. The fact that the Cold War, the World War II aftermath could spawn another war, World War I, II, III. When's that going to come? Well, maybe that's what this movie is about in part. And, the people who are at peace are never at peace in their heart. I've said that word heart several times because the English translation in the movie, the edition I have for Criterion Collection, uses that very word. A spirit who, for example, who gives the prophecy, moans and wails about the unending, unchanging depravity of the human heart, that scenes of carnage are going to just repeat themselves thanks to all-consuming desire. This part of that song said early on by the spirit, the demon, the witch, whatever that is, in the forest, that gives the prophecy to these two men, is going to be said or used over the ending. To me, this is a very moralistic movie in the tradition of ancient wisdom literature. It's not much different from them, raging against or condemning men, all human beings, for the wickedness in their hearts, their desire for power, their ambition, their lust for power, the libido dominandi, as St. Augustine put it, and then their willingness to do anything or ridiculous or terrible things like murder in order to get that done. Of course, that happens in Macbeth. It's going to happen in this movie as well. Now, I just have to say this, when the Greek tragedies comes up, I just hate these prophecies. I mean, don't ever consult an oracle because they're going to cause your own doom. I mean, they seem to describe it like they're just reading the future to you. So you consult with an oracle, and if you're Oedipus Rex, or in this movie, or Macbeth or something, a prophet comes up and tells you your future. You're like, oh, well, thanks. And then it seems written in stone. It's your fate. But no. It's always these prophecies cause, because the Macbeth hears about what's going to happen to him, and then he wants to enact it. I always feel like the prophecies, well, the prophecy here is causing part of the problem. Well, whether or not that's true, I think this movie is about the shifting desires of people who are unstable, and unstable being ambitious. They want power, they want control, they want more, they're greedy for power, that sort of thing, which does happen here. It happens all over the world in bureaucracies, corporations, and so on. I think that's what Kurosawa's read of the mid-20th century is, the worry of these untamed, unchecked kinds of people getting power. That's Macbeth to a T. And then you get this weather throughout this movie symbolizing this is one of the windiest movies ever made. There's wind blowing through half of the movie. The winds, which may symbolize, can't vouch for Japanese culture saying this, but Western culture does, symbolizing the vicissitudes of fortune and the wills that are uncontrolled. Why people like the main characters here are lusting for power. But not only that's the fog. There's fog everywhere in this movie. The uncertainty of war, of the future, of who I am in my heart. Macbeth doesn't seem to know himself. The Lady Macbeth figure does in this movie. And that fog is all-consuming. I must say, some of the formal choice of Kurosawa are fascinating to me because he loves to repeat stuff, or he'll let stuff go on much longer than almost any movie maker would. I mean, if you want to cut the fat out of this movie, it'd probably be half the runtime. For example, about 20 minutes in, after these two guys are in the forest encountering the spirit or demon, there's a 3-minute stretch where they just go on and off screen, riding their horses through the fog. We don't see them, and then we do. Their appearance and disappearance in the fog. They can't find themselves. They can't find the castle they're trying to go to. I think this is about 9 times Kurosawa does this. He only needed to do it once, but to repeat that over and over, I think emphasizes the unchanging, eternal things that are going on in this movie. The struggles for power, the lust, the sort of political upheaval that's going to keep recurring over and over. This fatalistic worry about all things returning back to the original, desire for carnage, as it were. So I think that's what's going on here. And he'll have these 3-minute stretches where a lot of slow things happen over 3 minutes when they can have it happen over 30 seconds. I think just to have the viewer dwell on all these heart problems that are announced in the movie. Given that, no, this is a spoiler, sort of, but this movie is 50 years old, 70 years old, my goodness. This movie has one of the best death scenes ever. It's wonderful. Who's shooting the arrows at, Washizu? It's an amazing moment where he is realizing he's going to die, and then he's getting shot at, and the look of terror, the animalistic rage, fury, worry, anxiety, the fear factor on Mifune's face as he scurries about like he does in Rashomon, playing that sort of animalistic character in that movie. He's able to do that more controlled here, but also let it loose enough to give us the depths of the heart of this character. I think Kurosawa also is telling us viewers we may be like these characters too, or he wants to put us in their shoes. I mean, he has the camera being panicked through a good, quarter of this movie. A lot of shakiness, a lot of stirring, a lot of fast-paced motion in this movie, as much as there is, or maybe probably not as much as there is, but there's a lot of slow-paced stuff to show us the slow evolving of something happening, but then things move really fast with the horses, with the quick changing desires of these characters, and with the main character, who is just confused and anxious throughout in his return home, but his lust for power throughout the movie, dealing with his wife, who is spurring him on as well. To me, that panic camera means this is, in a way, a psychoanalytic kind of story. Analyzing, not in a Freudian way, but what are the depths of the human heart? How can we ever know them? There's always a fog over us. Japanese society, pretty polite, perhaps someone might consider them to be superficial, like who are you really, what are you really feeling, you're masking your emotions. But here the fog peels back in the opening credits and several other times, so we can see things as probably as they are, and we get the sense of the depths of depravity of pretty close to everyone in this movie who is doing something to somebody else. Thus, to me, it's an ancient Greek tragedy. It's got a man prophesied to his doom, and he enacts it. A great man falling because of his terrible flaws, his hubris, and so on. So I think you just go read Sophocles or Euripides, and here you go. In the 20th century, it's working well in its own way, channeled through Shakespeare, obviously. But I think that the rehashing of familiar types and tropes from those Greek plays is working well because I think of the world wars and the devastations wreaked on these societies, especially and including Japan. Now, what do you think of Throne of Blood? What do you think about anything said here? Let us know. Any comments at all? And if you're a Shakespeare scholar, someone who knows Shakespeare well, I did not touch on the Macbeth stuff and what Kurosawa did to Macbeth, so feel free to fill in the blanks there. But I prefer to see this as a World War II or aftermath of World War II kind of movie, and ask the questions why this was made in the time period it was made and what it could have said about it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this channel and have an excellent day.